Hello, beautiful alchemist. Welcome to Reiki Radio. I am your host, Yolanda, and I hope that you will have an incredible week this week. We are at the end of February. This year is going by pretty quickly. A lot of people did celebrate the Lunar New Year, so Happy New Year to anyone who is celebrating that. Just as a reminder, if you ever want to know about the energy of each month, be sure to sign up for my newsletter. Go to my website, theenergeticalchemist.com, and you will get monthly emails about the energy of the month. You also get access to some free downloads, including 22 days of transformation and creating with the moon and stars. So be sure to grab that if you have not already. All right. So today we have a very interesting conversation. I know that I believe we've had conversations on the podcast before about past lives, probably more so connected to that exploration through the Akashic records. But today we are going to sit down and chat with Jonathan Robinson, who is a past life regression hypnotherapist. And he's also a certified hypnotherapy instructor. And this conversation was very interesting because it does highlight a question many people ask all the time. Are past lives real? What is the point in accessing this information? Is there any benefit? So I ask him all of these things from his perspective, and I would love to hear what you all think as well. His work is very interesting, and I'm sure you will learn a lot. I'm sure there's a lot that will resonate with you or answer some questions that you've had while on this path of spiritual evolution. So you can learn more about Jonathan and his work at journeyintopastlives.com. And I'll put that down in the show description, of course. I will also include his Instagram down in the show description. So I will see you on the other side of this conversation. Enjoy. Okay, so we are here today with Jonathan Robinson, hypnotist, um, and past life regressionist. I'm so curious. There are so many questions I have for you, like I was saying before, but I just want to say, first of all, just thank you for taking the time to share your work with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Well, I guess one of the first things is very important to start with your work. I would like to know how you got into this, but first, could you just tell us what hypnosis is? Because I think there's a lot of confusion around that for people.
Yeah, hypnosis is a guided meditation. So really, all we're doing is we're guiding the yourself to a deep state of relaxation, and it's really much like a meditation on the brain scanners. It's the theta frequency. It's a deep state of relaxation, and in that state of relaxation, something magical happens. The conscious mind steps aside, and the subconscious is able to absorb positive suggestions that easily become your reality. So it's one of the most effective and efficient ways to make positive changes, and it can help people with so many different things. The placebo effect is so powerful. Well, so is hypnosis.
Yes. Okay. Well, we are going to go deeper into that because I know there's a lot of curiosity around this and past life regression. We're going to dig into all of it, Jonathan. But so curious how you personally came into this work and now even are a teacher of it.
Yeah, I've always wondered what happens after we die. What's our purpose? What's the point of all this? And I've always been a little insomnia kind of held me back a lot. So when I was researching spiritual books and whatnot, I came across Michael Newton. And Michael Newton is a past life author like Dolores Cannon, who has many books. And tens of thousands of people she's done regressions with all over the world. And I was so excited that I finally maybe figured this out that I started consuming all of their books. These past life novels and books are just stories about hundreds of sessions that have taken place with people from all walks of life. And I'm like, well, how can this experiment? You can do it the same meditation with different people from all over, and they all go into their past lives. Like, is this some kind? This isn't just one person or someone on a psychedelic. This is everyone can do this, and everyone's getting deep healing and meaning and empowerment and finding out the fears, phobias, and birthmarks come from.
Yeah.
So it just led me down a path of where I am today. And I said, if they can do that, I can too. And my friend said I had a good bedtime story voice, so I figured I'd use it for good.
Yeah, that's so funny. So I have a couple of questions with that. One, I'm so curious of what you started to recognize when you were experimenting with this and practicing, what you recognized about your own experience, but what you started to recognize in the people you were working with. But one of the things I think is also a big question is where does this information come from, right? So let's say, even in the lane of past lives, do you think that whether or not a person believes in reincarnation, they still have the ability to tap into an impression, a story, a space where information is held for them? Where do you think this information is? Do you think it's real or you think does it matter even?
Yeah, that's a good question. And for anyone who's new about this past lives or reincarnation, it's not that important whether you believe in it or not. What's important is you're open-minded to the process and for it to help you empower yourself. So I've had people view it as metaphors and dreams. Other people view it as real past life events, and they can trace them back to significant people in history, and we can do research on and I can go over the pillars of proof that I've kind of came across. But children's past lives is a wild one because children, they're 4 years old and they're telling their mom, remember when we were in Japan and I was the mom and you were the dad and they draw Japanese symbols and they could tell you the addresses of their house and how they died and who they were and they're only 4 years old. So
Right.
yeah, so there's some deep truths to it. However, what's most important is, what anyone can argue anything nowadays, but it doesn't really matter to me. To me, it matters if they get the healing, if they get the empowerment they deserve from the session.
Yeah, so that's really what I wanted to. I'm glad you frame it that way because, again, I think sometimes we get so rigid in our idea of what we want to believe or not believe. And we could do like a whole nother conversation about that. But beyond all of that is what really is the point? So, what is the benefit that people get from these types of sessions? So, before you answer that part, just curious so people understand how, I guess, normal this is. What have you noticed that some people may be experiencing or struggling with that would even bring them to you? And then again, on the other side, when we go into this altered state of awareness, what benefit does it have?
Yeah, so a lot of times people have what I call a forever feeling, a free
Mm,
feeling that's been forever and they don't know where it comes from. It's unexplained, at least from any conscious memory of this life. Fears of or phobias of drowning, for example. I've found people drown in their past life. They were in a ship that was filled up with water and they drowned and they've been scared of ships their entire life and they've never been swimming in water over their head.
yeah,
Birthmarks I find very fascinating. There's actually a book on birthmarks from the 90s, and science really they don't know where they come from. They're always unique to that specific person. Had someone with a birthmark on the back on their left side, and they didn't know where it was from, but they've always been scared of Chris knives, the swirly knives from Aladdin, and they were scared of men or fear of strangers. In a past life adventure memory, they went back to a past life in London, and it was midnight with a full moon, and they were stabbed in the back by a Chris knife, and they ended up dying. And that's why it alleviated them from that fear. We got to the root cause, and we're able to rewrite that belief of strangers are always dangerous. Their alarm system was turned up too much, and we could turn it
yeah,
down by finding the root cause of these issues and challenges. So getting to the root cause is really what this does. And, I've had people with shame. For example, they were a Japanese general and they led their troops into battle and everyone perished except for them. When they came back to their town, they were dishonored by everyone in the town. That deep shame carried over and it gets trapped in our subconscious somewhere until it gets released. We do go to a healing center after we uh, drop our body in between lives, but sometimes those deep hurts or cycles and patterns carry over to different lifetimes in the form of fears, phobias, birthmarks, deep hurts. If you're drawn to a certain culture, like the Wild West or Egypt or Rome or something like that, you could be have a previous incarnation there. I had someone at the end of the session, she was a horse breeder in her past life. She's like, when I was 4 years old, I would always draw horses, and I loved horses, but I was scared of them because she fell off one and almost died. So,
Wow.
um, yeah, a lot of deep rooted feelings come from there, perhaps.
Yeah. No, it's so fascinating, Jonathan, because one of the things you tap into is it's one thing for us to have maybe the acknowledgement, but then would you say another important piece to this is then how we reframe it? So our perspective, our understanding, because like, yeah, I mean, you could tell me I was the Queen of Sheba, but who cares? It's really the way that I perceive and hold that information in my body, changing maybe the essence, I guess, of the memory of what that was. But also I want to ask you about how this really does trickle into all kinds of areas of our life. Because again, someone may wonder, like, okay, so let's say phobia specific, right? Well, you said forever memory. What came to mind is it's become a joke at this point with everyone I know, but I really believe that there are aliens in the ocean and you cannot pay. Like, I'm not going in there. I will not do it. And it really has become a joke amongst my friends, but I'm very adamant and seriously believe. I'm like, there's probably like a whole space station down there and all this, right? But now that you're saying that, well, the forever memory, it's interesting to me the idea of it may seem insignificant to us, these things we believe, but then how, or fear or worry about, but how does it bleed into other areas of our life that we may not, like impacting our choices we make, what we restrict ourselves from, these kinds of things? Have you seen significant change in, like, I guess, like some kind of freedom for people once they change the story?
Hmm. Well, it's really interesting about the bases or cities being under the ocean. The ocean is much unexplored, much like outer space. And
Yeah.
if there is technologies that are far advanced, they probably have cloaking systems that are undetectable by our current, systems in science. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, we can chat more about that. Um, but yeah, so I'll give you a few examples. I think stories are some of the best ways to share this information. Some of these stories in my sessions are so wild and unique. I don't want to share the most wild ones, but I'll share some that can relate. So I had this man, and he's a psychic, and he's currently a really good psychic, and he is he came to me at a broken heart. He just perpetually single, and he was scared of like falling in love, basically. And he's gay in this lifetime. And in a past life, he was a let's see, he was a man, and he was actually gay in that lifetime as well. So, and he loved someone so much. He met someone at a bookstore. He had a book of magic or magic bookstore, basically, and did real spells and helped people with all kinds of things, kind of like a not a kind of like a medicine person, like a herbalist, basically. And one day, the his lover came to him at his bookstore as not a lover, as a soldier with a uniform on, and burnt his bookstore down and killed him as well.
Oh, wow.
So in his last vow was, "Why should I love? It's only going to hurt me." And that vow carried over to this lifetime. And his subconscious thought by to protect him, they would just have him be single and not, be in relationships because relationships are danger. And
Mm.
so the subconscious doesn't speak rationally. And so he found that out. He felt freer than ever, he explained after the session. And so he was able to be free of that and not fear. The subconscious didn't put an alert system out when he went to love someone again.
Yeah.
So, that was big one. So love, freedom is a big one. And I'll tell you this other story I had. One of my first sessions was a lady who was 500 pounds. She was very overweight and she tried everything to lose the weight. Nothing worked. She came to me as last resort when we should go to hypnotherapy as a first resort, because it's so simple. There's no side effects. It's like a guided meditation. And she went into a past life as a beautiful, stunningly beautiful servant of the king, not a princess, but a like concubine type. The kings used to have these chambermaids and whatnot. And she had a good king at the time. He was loving. He was nice to all the other, not priestesses, but concubines. And she was so stunningly beautiful. Everyone adored her. Well, the king would pick her a lot because she was so nice and treated her well. However, one day the bad king poisoned the good king and cast a shadow over all the palace and tortured her the most because he would pick her a lot, and to her it was horrible. So she she was so distraught by that, she started eating compulsively, and she said her vow was, I will never be beautiful again. And that vow carried over to this lifetime. So she put on weight as a barrier. And by the way, if people are overweight, hypnotherapy works so good because a lot of times it's an emotional self-worth issue. It could have been, something happened when you were younger. If it's more than 50 pounds, it could be more than just a diet issue. So hypnotherapy works so well for that. And after the session, she lost hundreds of pounds, lives a more normal life now, and got her life back.
Wow. Yeah, no, it's incredible. So this is coming to mind because I know in this realm, this is such a big curiosity for a lot of people, but it tends to be this curiosity of, was I a healer at another time? Or potentially, there are a lot of people who come into this work but have a fear around being seen or known, or even admitting that they believe in what they believe in. So I want to ask you what you've recognized about that specifically in the work that you've done. But then also, if you could give us a bit of background, like the history around hypnosis and if you know anything about the origins.
Yeah, yeah. And us, if you're listening to this, you're probably spiritual and it comes from somewhere. And a lot of us spiritual people are afraid to speak our truth. Our throat chakra is clogged or blocked because we were punished in a past life or in the past for something that we may have shared. I've had another, like that psychic was punished for, having a bookstore. I had another really spiritual lady. Her parents would heal people. She were kind of like witches, but they would just use crystal balls and crystals and herbs to heal people. It's like what we would call naturopath. They would call a witch back then. And it wasn't fair because one day the stranger came to her house disguised and asked them if they would heal him, but they didn't know. And it was very tense. She said there was a lot of tension. They didn't know what was going to happen. And then this man called in the guards and they took her parents away, unfortunately. Then she was an orphan for several years. And then later in that lifetime, she was meditating by the river and they ended her life as well. And in her throat, actually cut her right in her throat, right in her neck. And she was like, silly humans. Had such a high level of understanding. She wasn't distraught or, stressed by it. She was just these silly humans, why would they do that to me? I was
Yeah.
just, trying to do something nice to help people.
Yeah.
And so a lot of us healers have been healers in the past and medicine woman or shaman, and it's a lot of responsibility and it's wonderful. However, we were hurt because of that. So now in today's day and age, we don't need to fear that anymore. We can speak our truth. We can let our voice be heard, and we can clear that throat chakra. It can be clogged from abusive relationships as well. In past, I've had a lot of people come to me with relationship stuff, relationship trauma and struggles and whatnot too. And we're able to identify patterns and cycles of being a healer, patterns or cycles of having perhaps relationships that I had this one lady who had an abusive relationship currently. We went to three past lives. Usually in a session, we'll go to three past lives. It's about a 2 hour session. One of her past lives was she was being abused again, but even worse, in a worse situation. Because back then there wasn't much rights or whenever where she was living. Then in another past life, she was the abuser. So she was the one abusing the other person. So she got to see both sides. And then it showed her a life of happiness on a farm with three kids and a dog. And it was like happy, normal, just, loving lifetime. So, we learn a lot from it showed her reflections of what was, what could be, and what was possible. And so, yeah, it's able to really show you what'll surface is what's important to you now, currently. In 5 years from now, the past lives you view might be different based on the challenges you're currently facing. So, yeah, subconscious, the higher self has a way of just showing
Yeah.
you what's right now.
Well, it's interesting because I do want to get to the history, but you bring up another good point. Um, Really, a lot of what you're saying, it points to that whole conversation around our soul evolution. And a lot of people, especially when we may be facing different challenges or patterns or habits that we don't understand, a lot of people will feel almost like punished by the universe or like, why is this happening to me? Why can't I have love? Why can't I this, that, whatever it may be? But again, a lot of what you're pointing to shows one, our ability to change the trajectory of what our experience may be, but also having some understanding that these challenges aren't always there's beauty in what could be understood through them, basically. So could you share a little bit about your lens of how this highlights evolution of the soul or how we can even maybe understand it more clearly from that lens?
Yeah, yeah, and as humans, we seek comfort, so we
Yeah.
won't change if we're comfortable. And part of our experience is dancing in the storm and doing things even though they're challenging and growing through challenges. So, a lot of near-death experiences, for example, which also validates past lives, because in the near-death experience, the people are unconscious or their heart stops, but they can sometimes tell you what the nurse and doctor are saying.
Yeah.
But after them, you change your life trajectory for the better, usually. And so a lot of times through challenges, whether it's heartbreak, whether it's and especially if it's a pattern or cycle that you can experience or know. I had this one client recently. She said at work, I keep getting challenged by my manager. I'm really good at my job, but my manager keeps challenging me and not letting me progress and whatnot. And this happened at my other job, and this happened last year, and it keeps happening. And so the universe is continuing to test them. Basically, what ended up happening is now she started her own business. So she realized, hey, these other people, these managers are getting uncomfortable because she's better than they are, basically, more skilled and talented. And they were nervous about her taking her job. And it's like,
Mhm.
yeah. So she's now at another, her started her own business. And so a lot of times the universe will continue to test us until we pass the test. And if we keep avoiding that test, it will keep bringing that to us. So, and also seeing the good in things. So seeing the silver lining. I know it's hard. I've had loved ones pass, and in the moment it's grief, and grief is not linear. It's more like a spiral, and it comes in waves. And after we weathered the storm of the initial wave of grief and whatnot, then we can start to see it from a different perspective of, hey, what did this teach me? Not why is this happening to me? What am I learning from it?
Yeah. That's interesting because it brings up the whole question too about like these soul contracts and agreements that we may have with people in our life and people who seem so familiar. There's too much to talk to you about, Jonathan. Okay, so I'm gonna put a pin in that one and come back. But I keep, dancing around the history of hypnosis and what you know about that. Because, a lot of people think it's some new thing that people just came up with.
Yeah, yeah. So I'll tell you a brief history of hypnosis. One, the theta frequency, we go in and out of it 12 times a day on average. Before sleep, we go through theta. We think of all those wonderful thoughts, maybe have fantasize about things, then we fall asleep. Can't remember in the morning.
Yeah.
In the morning, we remember our dreams for a brief moment, then we forget them. Highway hypnosis is when we're driving, we go on autopilot, we're thinking about that thought. Maybe we get emotional and super into it. Then we miss our turn, or we're safe, we're driving, but I've had people show up at the wrong building before. It's just they
Yeah.
kind of go on autopilot. So we watch a movie, for example, we go to theta frequency, we cry or get emotional. We know we're not in the movie, but we want to be there. Like that's why we like the stories so much.
Yeah.
So it's very natural state of mind. And James Braid was the godfather of hypnosis back in the 1800s or 1700s. He kind of founded, well, actually, mesmer. So mesmerize, the term mesmerize comes from James or mesmer, which was he would do a pendulum, he would do hand movements and gestures, and he would dance and he would get people in a trance that way. And they'd actually used it for surgery because back then they didn't have pain medicine to when you went into surgery, so
Right.
they would hypnotize you to do a breathing exercise and divert the pain to something else so people would have less pain during surgery. Fun fact, hypnobirthing is like one of the most popular things right now for women to give birth. Instead of being all drugged up on painkillers, they can do hypno breathing, and it's basically a breathing technique, and they can have that amazing moment. That's one of the most best moments of their life. They don't have to be in a different on a substance for that.
Wow.
So yeah, then James Braid took over, and then Erickson took over as well. James Braid had more direct suggestions where he would say, "You will do this" or "You will do that," and then Erickson had more suggestions using adverbs. So, and every day in every wonderful way, you're feeling better and better knowing that you don't smoke anymore, or
Right.
um, you do a lot of different, you notice that it's easier and easier for you to be happy and present and amazing every day. So using indirect suggestions, and that's really where we are now. No one uses pendulums or swinging pocket watches.
Yeah.
That's way outdated. And actually, I have an app coming out where you can just listen. I do hypnosis every day for like 20 minutes, and it gets me to that theta frequency. I do one for Reiki, actually. I do a chakra clearing one, and it's basically a meditation, but it's easier because you just follow the voice and it guides you to that relaxed state.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's incredible. I mean, really, when I think all of this work, anything you would, now commonly put under the umbrella of spirituality is amazing to me because it reveals so much of what we are, what we're capable of, whether we're talking like the physical vessel itself and what it gives us access to, but even the non-physical aspects of us and all of this. Now, the history, thank you for sharing that. I have to tell you, when I was watching, you did a video about the history of hypnosis, and that was one of the things why I was so curious to have this conversation with you. But while I was listening to it, it reminded me of the Akashic Records. Are you familiar with the Akashic Records? And so I had this moment of like, okay, actually, you think of this idea of a soul book or this idea of this realm of consciousness that records everything. And yet we can go into a state of consciousness to access a lived experience or even something that's symbolic to support us in our current lived experience. it kind of brought to mind this whole idea of, I mean, I know we're separate from nothing, but it made me kind of curious of, is hypnosis even a way that people access what others would call the Akashic realm? Have you ever thought
Yeah.
about that?
Yeah, it is. So there's something called an Akashic Records reading where
Hmm.
a more of a Reiki or psychic person would go into a meditative state. Well, they basically channelers, mediums, and psychics go to the theta frequency
Yeah.
to access. Imagine your mind, your brain is like a computer. And right now, we're not hooked up to the internet because we're focused on surviving or our 3D life or driving a car. We need to do that to in this 3D world. I wish more people would have one foot in the spiritual beyond the veil and one foot in the 3D. I think it would make more of a loving, nurturing, wonderful situation here on Earth. We're moving toward that with more
Yeah.
meditators and Reiki and remote viewers and all these spiritual concepts that are like used to be just woo woo. They're actually having science to back them up with EEG brain scanners, and you can see the benefits and whatnot now. So your brain is like a computer. Well, one, you get a reset, just like it has programs running in the background that are unneeded or unwanted in the cache or in the junk folders. We can reset it, and we that's like doing a 20-minute meditation. We
Yeah.
can run on full power again. Two, we can hook up to the internet called the ether, the unified field, when we go to the theta frequency or that frequency of meditation alpha 1 coherence frequency and TM or transcendental meditation, and we can receive. So we can receive messages from the divine. It's almost like we're raising our vibration to a higher amount, and the higher self is lowering their vibrations. So we meet in the middle, and we're able to receive. And it's pretty amazing what's able to surface. So I think it's amazing every client of mine can do this, and
Yeah.
I haven't found anyone that can't yet. So
Yeah.
it's pretty wild.
It is really, really amazing. And it goes back to, this question that you already answered, but the idea of like people wondering, even if they, whether you believe in reincarnation or not, there is something about our ability to be in connection to all there is that at the very least, we can still receive information that will support us in understanding our current function. So even though you have some kind of focus on past lives, is there any other, I want to say, like way of describing your work? Like, or there are some people that come and they're like, no, 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 I don't really want to go to a past life. I just want to understand XYZ. Or do you have a lot of experience where people, what they recall is from this time? And then do you think it's past life or parallel lives, or do you can we go into that
Oh,
too?
yeah, yeah. And in the spiritual, they say everything's happening at once.
Yeah.
Time is not linear, everything's happening at once. So we can, as humans, we conceptualize it with time as a dimension, and we see baby, child, adult, elderly. So we see it as, a story, and that's how we conceptualize it. That's why we call it past lives. I brought people to future lives or future past lives,
Yeah.
and that's wild. Everyone, I believe everyone can do that too, because it's just a suggestion that said instead of going back further, we go forward further, and we all have future lives as well. And whether they're playing out or not is up to us, our fate, our decisions and actions. So is it a parallel life or past? That's that I'm open-minded to whatever it is, but the point is that people do get the healing empowerment from the session, what'll surface. It almost like mirrors, or it's all to help the current life. It's all to help your current situation right now with whatever challenges, that feeling that you're overcoming. So I had this lady, she was a singer from California, actually LA, a little bit north of you. And she hated Egypt for some reason. She never wanted to go there. And before the session, she didn't mention this, but after the session, she did. She's has a phobia of elevators, closed spaces, even like being between two cars would
Oh,
scare
wow.
her. And she would bring snacks. Anytime she would go on an elevator, she'd text her mom as well. And what she wanted the session for mostly was her voice. She was a singer, but she had hesitant going on stage. She was very like hesitant every time she would get nervous, and she's been doing it for like 10 years, but she didn't know why. So in the session, we went to a few different past lives. I suggested that we go to Egypt because that was where the root cause I thought was. We went to Egypt. She was a priestess. She was a beautiful priestess. She would sing, use her voice, that pattern carried over. She would do rituals. She would have many beautiful priestess friends. She would use crystals and meditate. And one day she reported the Pharaoh being very angry with everybody. He wasn't fair. And another day he was being really mean to her, particularly, and she stood up for herself and said, "You can't do that to me," and got in an argument with him. And then the Pharaoh banished her to the dungeon, where in the session she was shivering. Actually, she's like, "It's really cold." So she ended up being put in a 6 by 6 stone cavern room that was underneath the pyramids in like a dungeon area where she starved to death.
Wow.
Yeah, uncovering, all that stuff about her being scared of elevators and bringing snacks. Well, we found out the root cause of that. The pattern of her singing carried over and her being punished for using her voice. So yeah, in the session we cleared that throat chakra. I talked to her. She's on my YouTube actually because I did a interview with her actually afterward, and her voice sounds noticeably different. It's
Wow.
much more confident and so all kinds of things that we can uncover.
You know what, Jonathan? Can we describe this for people? Because some people are curious to have this type of session. And could you kind of walk through what it looks like? Like if I was coming to you, what would I expect, and what is the interaction between you and I?
Yeah, so what one, I do free introductory calls. So if anyone wants to do a free introductory call, my website is Journeys into Past Lives. And what we would do is we would talk about your reasons for wanting to make these changes, get past limiting beliefs. A lot of people come to me when they feel stuck. They
Hmm.
don't know why, but they're stuck in their career or relationship or feelings or whatever it may be, and they want to get past it, but it's like an invisible force field is keeping them back.
Yeah.
And a lot of times it's either conscious, we know about an event that happened and from this life or a feeling, or it's unconscious where we have the feeling, but we don't know where it comes from. And that intention, the higher self, I have all my clients write out a list of intentions or questions for their higher self. And those intentions, kind of like when we go to sleep at night, we can write a pillow letter. Dear dreams, I would like answers on this, this, and this. Thank you. I love you. And put that under your pillow. And writing it down consciously crystallizes for the subconscious to find us those answers. So in these sessions, that intention with emotion and focused relaxation, we're able with my guidance to guide you. And I think everyone can do this on their own, but if you want a guide, sometimes it's more productive that way. So with a guide, I can guide you through the scenes more effectively and reframe things. So anyway, so we talk about the questions, the intentions, then we do the meditation. It's called hypnosis. If you're scared of hypnosis, we can call it meditation. And that's all it is. It's you're awake the whole time, you're aware the whole time. We're doing a guided meditation, relaxing the breathing, the breath, and the mind. And we're going into that observer in you. And so if everyone out there, if you're not driving a car, can I do a little
Yes,
30
please.
second meditation?
Yes.
So, all right, if you're not driving an operating machinery, just do this quick meditation with me. It takes about 30 seconds. So take a deep breath, relax, close your eyes, extend the exhale so it's longer than the inhale. And I'd like for you to imagine something familiar, your house. Take another deep breath and relax, close your eyes, let go of all the muscles in the neck and the abdominal area, and imagine your kitchen. So you're familiar with the kitchen, the wallpaper, the pictures, the floor. And now walk over to your fridge as you let go and relax. And as you open the door of the fridge, you hear the seal crack open, the noise it makes, and then you feel the cold air on your hand or feet. And you look into this fridge and you see a nice yellow lemon. And you pick up this lemon with your hand. Notice how big it is or small, with both hands or one. And you walk over to the counter and you slice this lemon up half and then in wedges and quarters, and another time if you like. And imagine that this juicy lemon, the smell of it, what it would texture would be as you bring it toward your mouth. You smell it even more and you take a big bite of this juicy lemon. The tartness, the whatever it is to you. And as you relax and let go, you can now open your eyes and did any raise your hand if your mouth salivated a little bit. Okay. That's because the mind doesn't know the difference between reality and hypnosis or a thought if we're really, deep into it. So you are not there in your house, or you may be in your house, but you were. They've done brain scans for Olympians that run a race, and then they did one for one under hypnosis that was imagining they're running the race, and the same neurons fired in their mind.
Wow.
So, so yeah, we are an observer within ourselves, and when we do hypnosis, it's a skill. You want to do hypnosis, it's like meditation, and we can become that observer basically, and we
Yeah.
can reframe uh, perhaps ideas and thoughts that we've been holding on to for years and decades, and we can reframe them to let go of them, release them, teach the subconscious it doesn't need to protect us from that anymore, turn down the fight or flight or anxiety, and live our best life.
As a facilitator, I'm very curious about this for you personally, because I understand, why anyone would want to come and have this type of session and how beneficial it can be. But for you, on the side of facilitating where you may do this for yourself and you're doing this for other people, and you really understand the impact of moving into an altered state of consciousness or moving into a theta brainwave. I'm just curious, has that helped that alone? Like even knowing how to get into or put yourself in theta intentionally, has that helped you just soften your function around, just typical human experience? Like do you not maybe hold on to anger or fear or these kinds of things in the same ways you would have in the past because of your
Yeah,
relationship to mind?
yeah, and it does really make you question and think about um, what's important or what makes you happy, what
Yeah,
makes you happiest. And sometimes we dwell on these things and we're like, why am I even thinking about that thing that happened 4 years ago or whatever? And it helps us be in the moment, be grateful and thankful, and excited about our future because that's what we should be
yeah,
occupying our mind with most of the time. The 80-20 rule, I really like the 80-20 rule, and 80% should be on the future, 20% maybe should be on a positive memory or interaction that we may have had. They did a study, and the transcendental meditation was where I learned meditation first, and it's very easy meditation with a mantra. And they taught kids in an inner city school in like Detroit or something, and they had a fight a day, 30 fights a month, and they taught the eighth graders this meditation. For that whole month, there was one fight the whole month.
oh,
And they asked the kid, "Hey, why didn't you fight or get in that hit that kid?" And the kid said, "Well, he pushed me, but since I've been doing the meditation, I just thought twice about reacting."
yeah.
So it helps us respond, not just react. And a lot of my clients say it's the most relaxed they've ever been. And just that alone is like magic to their subconscious to find the deep healing that they need to get the answers.
Yeah, I think that's one of the most powerful things in my point of view. I think, well, one, you know, our direct experience of things helps us to really understand. But when you do give yourself the experience of going into these altered states or knowing what it feels like to be so relaxed that you're not reactive and start to be more responsive, again, it reminds me of the hermetic teaching of like all is mind and how important our relationship really is to our overall experience and everything we're creating and encountering and everything in between. So I wanted to ask you about this too, because people can work with you, yes. And we're going to put the website down below, of course, journeysintopastlives.com. But you also have upcoming training. So could you talk a little bit about even that? You mentioned that you read all of these books and you were so curious and you deep dived in. And so you've studied from different perspectives and vantage points. So have you come up with your own type of technique and system because of that? And who is the training for?
Yeah. So we need more healers, everybody. And if you're out there in your spiritual, it is a lifestyle, and you can just do it as that. But I think we need more of us healing, and there's no shortage of people that need help. And with hypnotherapy, and I do Reiki as well. I love doing energy healing. I think you do it as well, right? So it's amazing. All these modalities are wonderful, and so hypnotherapy. I dove into this because of how effective and efficient it was for me. For like 8 years ago, I did a session, and after the session, I won a disc golf tournament. It's a like golf, it's a sport, um, with a frisbee, and I never won a tournament before because I used to be really nervous when I would putt or shoot my shots in the tournament, but I would play good in practice. So I won that. I was top sales guy in my company for 2 months, and I got into a relationship with a girl that I was scared to talk to. All from that one session. I was like, wow, this is like really amazing. It's one session. And from that point forward, I pursued it and I learned it. And it's actually pretty simple. It's like a guided meditation, and it doesn't take years. It only takes a few months with a lot of practice, of course. But anyone can do it, and it can be very lucrative as well if you have other modalities like Reiki or breath work or coaching, you can add it to the packages that you provide for your clients and call it, I have someone who does it with detox. She does detox, what is it called? Fasting and whatnot, but her clients weren't following her directions. So then she did the hypnosis at the end of her sessions, and it helped the clients like follow actually step by step and stick to the program and fitness and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it's for serious spiritual people that are want to take a spiritual perspective, and you get certified um, with the International Federation of Hypnotists, IFH, and that's like the biggest organization. So it is actually a recognized certification, not just a diploma. And then I specialize in past lives. So I'm going to show you all my tricks, all my secrets that I do this with. 99% of people can do this, and you can too.
Yeah. It's interesting. Now I'm thinking like, gosh, I should have booked a session with you before this conversation. Well, let me tell you why. Because I emailed you and I told you that I also did training in hypnotherapy, but I don't offer it at all. And part of the reason was because of the I don't know, you call it lineage, but the school that I trained through, um, the sessions are very long. I'm talking like 4 to 5 hours. They're supposed to be these sessions like really long. I'm like, no, I don't have time to
Wow,
do
that's
that so much.
that's so
Yeah, like
long.
very long. Um, so anyway, so curious about that. Like, how long are your sessions? And also, can people have a session with you remotely, or do you only offer them in person?
Yeah, and so 99% of my sessions are remote, unless you're in Austin, Texas. I just moved to Austin, everybody. So come out and visit me here. It's
Yeah.
a spiritual community, but I've done sessions in person and online. And after the first minute, your eyes are closed. So as long as you can hear my voice, It's like I'm right there.
Yeah.
And I find it works better because a lot of people are most relaxed in the safety and comfort of their own house, and
Yes.
it's no commute. Nothing can happen. It's just meditation, and I record the audio too. So I send you everything. Um, and the hypnosis does not have to be long for it to
Yeah.
work. I can teach people to go into trance in 5 minutes or less, and after you get good at it, you can go in faster because it is a skill. You want to do hypnosis. You want to go into it. It's like
Right.
meditation. I know this one hypnotist, he does 15-minute sessions. He can charge less and treat more people. And he does, very good work and it's very short. But most of the time, a normal hypnosis session is about 30 minutes to 45 minutes when you're actually in the trance-like
Yeah.
state. Well, there's talking, 20 minutes prior to it, then afterward and stuff like that. So it's about a little bit about over an hour usually for my single sessions, which are clinical. Clinical is when the hypnotist is just talking to you and you're, silent, absorbing. Metaphysical or regression or past life regressions are longer because those are like 2.5 hours sometimes because I'm asking you, you're the client and you're observing, you're getting visions, knowings, or feelings or experiencing your past lives or your memories or metaphors and you're in it. So you're firsthand. I'm not telling you what's happening. You're telling me what you're
Yeah.
experiencing. So it's really exciting. My clients really love it. They're in it. But nothing unpleasant will happen because you're just an observer. We're separate from the scene, and I do a lot of safety around that. However, it is okay if we get emotional when we go to the root cause because that's what creates the shifts and changes. So some of my regressions are longer, 2 hours, but clinical is usually less.
Yeah. 2 hours is not bad at all. But yeah, I'm like 5 hours. That's like one person a day. I can't do that. Although
Yeah,
I
that's
would
so
say
much.
like the,
Gotta take
yeah,
bathroom breaks.
yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, I'll tell you more about it offline. But yeah, but that method also focused on past lives, which is also why it was pretty lengthy, but and probably like how you have the pre-call with the person, this is all happening in one thing, which again adds to the length of the time. But I'm very curious. I'm definitely going to book a session with you. But I want to share with everyone because, again, like I said, you do have an upcoming training that you said will probably be in a few months. So definitely go to journeysinto pastlives.com so that you can know when Jonathan is going to have his training. But you can also, like he said, book a call with him and have personal sessions with him remotely as well. You also do these events, weekly events on Instagram. Could you talk a little bit about that and when we can tune in?
Yeah, I wanted to create more of like a community. And so I do a weekly Wednesday evening at 9 p.m. CST or 10 p.m. EST.
Mm,
Wednesdays, I go live on Instagram. So people can go on. I usually have guests, special guests too. And we just talk about spiritual stuff, hypnotherapy, the subconscious mind. And people can ask questions and a lot of people share their stories. It's a fun event. I have a school community, the SKOOL community
yeah.
for my hypnotherapy class and students, and we do ongoing support. So it's invite only. So if you want to, join, you can, reach out and you can fill out an application and see if you're a good fit for the training because we want, people that deeply care, are open-minded, that are in just, this type of thing, and then my one-on-ones, I do free introductory calls. And, I notice so many people want to do this, but a lot of people maybe don't have time, or I don't have time, or they don't have enough money to do it every so often. So I created an app called Journeys into the Subconscious. And this app is going to come out shortly. You know, things take a while sometimes, but
Yeah.
so maybe when this airs, it'll be out. So check the App Store for Journeys into the Subconscious, where I have my meditations, my hypnosis sessions, my journeys, which would be a past life journeys. And this is really cool. I don't think there's anything out there like this yet, but It is you can type in fear of peanut butter or biting nails or anything that's very rare because I don't have meditation for everything. And it'll read you a meditation in my voice about what you're fearful of, and it'll help you overcome that.
Oh, that's very cool. So, yeah, I will put that, of course, in the description. Journeys into the Subconscious. That's the app that will be coming out. And I noticed I have a couple minutes with you. I'm going to take it all. You just reminded me as well, because you mentioned earlier that a lot of people may have a certain resonance or connection to different cultures. And you look behind me clearly, mine is Egypt. But, and some people may have like an inkling of, a memory or experience, or at the very least, like that other woman you spoke about, you may have a kind of like a visceral reaction to the thought of a place, even if you've never been there this time. I just wanted to ask you a little bit about the benefit of having this type of session because, like, say for example, if I've had impressions of being in Egypt, but then if I'm not in a certain frame of mind, if I'm not in a certain state, then my analytical can jump in and try to fill in the gaps or answer the questions or these types of things, which is very different than being in the theta state, as you mentioned. So could you share a little bit about that benefit of having the space held where you can just be the observer, relaying what is instead of being in the analytical?
Yeah, yeah, it's good to be in the moment for the sessions because I record it and you can always analyze it later. And
Yeah.
so in the session, sometimes people think, "Oh, am I making this up?" or they second guess themselves. And I suggest that they just go with the flow and they'll be shown more. And they're shown images, visions, symbols that mean something to them. And a lot of times, if you're drawn to a certain location, I had someone drawn to Greece, and they've been there in this life, but in a past life they were there, and they said it's very different than the time I vacation there. It's the architecture is from a long time ago. There's no electricity. I had someone who lives in a French house in California, but in a past life they were lived in France, so they were drawn to that French architecture for some reason.
Yeah.
So if you're drawn to a certain area, if you have reoccurring dreams, if you had a vision from a ceremony, and if you just met someone and you feel like you like them or don't like them, that could be a resonance residue of past lives you've had together.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Okay. One last thing, because I brought it up before and I said I was going to whiteboard it, so to speak. Soul contracts and agreements. So a lot of people have a curiosity about people in their lives, very significant relationships to us, connections to us. Sometimes it's just because we enjoy it. And so we're curious, have we done this together before? But sometimes it's because of the challenge within a relationship that people may want to understand the origin. Can you just share a little bit about how this work can help people clarify, maybe even heal around different relationship connections?
Yeah, yeah, we come into this life with a mission. A lot of us spiritual people want to raise the vibration of Earth right now to a higher vibrating state. The Hawkins scale of enlightenment is a good example. It's like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and
Yeah.
the more we, raise and elevate, the happier and enlightened we are. So, but our mission, that's our overall, like imagine it's like an episode of a season, and the season is to raise the vibration, but each episode has a different mission. And we may go into this life as a mission to gain more leadership skills or let go of that addiction or substance or mend the relationship with someone you've been in contact with. I had this spiritual person who he had a spirit friend and they would keep killing each other in battle.
Mm.
So we teach each other hard lessons as well as soulmates and twin flames and stuff like that. So he would kill him in battle. He would kill him in battle. It was very much, very aggressive. And then he came into this life as he was the teacher, and then the condescending principal boss was his spirit friend. He realized they butted heads, but they didn't know why until he did the session with me. And he realized, oh, that's why I don't like him for, this reason. And then he made amends with him. He took the deeper understanding. He knew that was coming from somewhere else, and he was able to mend that relationship. So now they can incarnate with each other and not be, you know, bad to each other.
Wow. Well, I'm so glad. I feel like we got in as much as we could. I mean, really, truly could talk to you about this and your work all day, Jonathan. But I will say with that, you also have a YouTube channel. So if anyone wants to hear more about your work, you do have a YouTube channel. I'll put the link below. Definitely go to Jonathan's website, journeysintopastlives.com. There you can have or book your own sessions and find out about upcoming classes. And as he mentioned, there are the weekly Instagram events on Wednesday evenings, and I'll put the link for that as well. I feel like you've said so much. We might have to listen to this a couple of times to really take it all in, but essentially, this work can be so helpful in our healing, healing relationships, healing our own experiences. I think there's nothing that this doesn't touch. So, thank you for the work that you do, and thank you for sharing with us today. Anything you want to share before we go, or?
Yeah, thank you so much for doing what you do and helping people. If you guys listen to her other episodes, a lot of spiritual people on here, and be the change you wish to see in the world. Love is the only way. They keep telling me to ask, so we need to ask for guidance and assistance. So don't be afraid to ask. They can't interfere unless we do. And you're never alone. And get in around other spiritual communities like my live or crystal events or festivals, and enjoy, celebrate this life as well as better yourself and improve.
Incredible. And I have to tell you, Jonathan, this is wild. So I have an app too, and I do readings on my app. And I literally, in a reading to say today, I said, just ask when you're in meditation. Just ask the question first and then surrender as much as you can. Anyway, I'll tell you after we're done. But thank you so much for everything. And everyone, go down in the show description, click on the links, and we will see you very soon. Okay, beautiful alchemist. Thank you so much for joining me today on Reiki Radio. I also want to thank Jonathan, of course, for coming to share his incredible work with us. He does have weekly events on Instagram on Wednesdays at 9 p.m. Central. And don't forget that he has an app that will be coming out very soon that you can download. He has upcoming training as well that is virtual. You'll be able to do the training online if you are interested. So go to his website, journeyintopastlives.com, to learn more about Jonathan and his work. I hope that you all have an incredible week ahead. And remember to always journey in love.